I barely finished my meal. Who in their right mind could? Given the gravity of the situation, it was a miracle I got anything down at all. Returning to the bridge, I was immediately struck by what I saw. There were no signs of fire foam anywhere, and to that end, the surfaces, that had been coated with a thin layer of dust prior to the fire foam, were now buffeted and glossed with a clean sheen of polish. The entire room seemed to glisten with the finish that looked as if it had just rolled off of the assembly line. The restoration was practically night and day, and with it came a renewed sense of purpose. A sharp, continuous stream of clacking and thocking from the central console pierced through the otherwise monotonous hum of the life support systems that filled the cavernous space. Ver was predictably going through the motions of whatever processes were necessary to prepare for our encounter, taking us one step closer to unraveling the mysteries of our circumstances. Hey, look who's decided to join. Glad to have you back, Lysara. Go on, have a seat just about anywhere. He rotated his head to face me, an uncomfortably mechanical movement, but one that I responded to with a nervous smile. His tone of voice clearly took from our previous conversation, imbued with a sense of camaraderie that had been lacking prior. I walked past the central console wordlessly, and towards the captain's chair. Up. Everything except for that chair. Sorry, should have specified earlier. Ver cut me off just before I could sit down. Is there a problem with this chair, or? No, it's just force of habit. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't feel right. It's just. Ver, it's fine. I'm not judging. I replied simply, eliciting a nod and a thumbs up from the IE screen face. As I took the seat just adjacent to the captain's chair, Ver would address me once again. Thanks for humoring me, Lysara. I nodded in understanding, not thinking too much of it. We all had our quirks after all, Vanaran, human, and, as I was quickly discovering, even IE it seems. This jaunt into introspection was quickly cut short by the sudden activation of the bridge monitor. A massive display that stretched from one side of the bridge to the other, curving and stopping just halfway where the array of helmsmen and bridge officers' consoles met the open plan meeting table behind them. Displayed prominently on it was a satellite of alien mechanic design. Perhaps human, if its geometrical inclinations and aesthetics were any indication. A series of readings were displayed just off-center to the satellite, readings on distance, scans on its composition, and the zoom amplification. The latter of which was at 1x, which indicated that we were just a few hundred feet away from practically touching the object now. Before we go forward with this, any second thoughts? Ver suddenly asked. I was dumbfounded for a few seconds. After that, why in ancestor's name would he suddenly be having cold feet literal inches away from our objective? Second thoughts? I parroted back. Ver, what in ancestor's name do you mean? Well, I thought that before we continue, I should ask the only other person present here. We aren't a military operation, we aren't government sanctioned, we don't have a strict hierarchy. And, honestly, I promised that I'd work with you, rather than for you, or myself, right? I was taken aback by this. We were a team after all. And there's no I in team. He managed out, chuckling slightly. A sense of humor that did little to alleviate my trepidation in a situation such as this. In all seriousness, Lysara, I want to make sure you have a say in the decision-making processes. Especially something of this magnitude. It's not that I don't want to proceed, hell, I have the orders all loaded up ready to go. But I just wanted you to know that, as slight as it may be, there is a chance this might be a trap. There is a chance this might not turn out the way we want it to. There is a chance that the actions we're about to take might put my life, and yours, at risk. South. I ask again, knowing the risks, and knowing where I stand, do you have any second thoughts? Ver. We Vanarans have a saying. In life, there is no action without risk. It is the ability to assess the value of the action to the severity of the risk that makes us sapient. I paused, taking a moment to stare back at the satellite, before turning back to Ver. To take no risk is to deny yourself of your gift of sapience. To take too many risks is to risk losing your sapience entirely. But right now, There is no such thing as too many risks. For we have no other choice but to move forward. We could just leave, search around aimlessly, live on the ship permanently, or settle down somewhere. The ship has enough fuel to last 1,000 more years, and it has many factories to produce more fuel of inferior quality, but fuel that can do the trick. We could go on. No more. No more ignorance, no more bliss. Not when Elijah had just opened my eyes to the world I was living in, not when he'd just shown me that the past millennia of my life had been led under false pretenses and assumptions. A life of ignorance is not a life I wish to lead. Not anymore, not ever. The IE smiled at that, a synthesized sigh of relief following suit. I was hoping you'd say that. I just needed to make sure we were on the same page. Because the path we're about to take will test our resolve. I, for one, however, am willing to do anything to get out of this pit of ignorance. I nodded, forcing myself to mimic that smile humans were so fond of. That is a sentiment I can get behind wholeheartedly. A small pause settled between us, the thrum of the life support systems growing louder by the minute as Ver turned back to his console, a finger hovering over a single key. Here's how I plan to approach this. I'll do an in-depth scan of the satellite, followed by a ping to determine its origin, its make, its model, and its mission profile. After that I'll attempt to hail it, and if the hail does nothing, I'll deploy a series of warfare suites to take every scrap of data I can from it. Either way, we get what we came here for. You have my vote of confidence, Ver. I looked towards the satellite once more, taking a deep breath and nodding. Do it. They say that the IE mind is one that is difficult if not impossible for the organic to comprehend. In speed, in complexity, and only limited by its emotions and feelings which make it susceptible to the same ills that plague most organics. It is the former two sentiments that I now had front row seats to, as streams of data pounded the consoles in front of me. A veritable war was being fought within the ether that was cyberspace. I could do nothing but wait. As I turned back to stare warily at Ver, feeling a genuine sense of worry not just for myself, but perhaps for the first time, for this IE as well. Silence, not barely punctuated by the clacking and the thunking of his keyboard, dominated the scene for 5 entire gut-wrenching minutes, before a new set of data swamped the bridge monitor. Got it. Ver sounded off triumphantly, shimmying ever so slightly in his seat, as he presumably began dissecting the data. You're not directly interfacing with it. No, and this time it's not the strange force of habit. It's a literal security hazard. If the code's corrupt, or there's some latent virus planted in there somewhere, a direct interface would be tantamount to opening up the floodgates. So, no, I'm air-gapping it, and doing it the good old-fashioned way. I once more nodded in understanding. It made sense, and once again, the risk of losing my only partner was one that I didn't want to take. Not when we had all the time in the galaxy to dissect this carefully and methodically. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Unidentified satellite is designated as README-1. Make and model, Altair and Stellar Industries General Multipurpose Long-Range Data Relay Satellite, heavily modified. It's a late 3900s vintage. That's about 4 centuries after you went under, Lysara. Mission profile, classified. But a sudden pause soon after that warranted my attention, as I craned my head back. Wait. No, this doesn't make any sense. Ver's rattling suddenly trailed off, which prompted me to peek behind his console. Lysara. You need to take a look at this. On screen was a single message. One that perplexed me as much as it did Ver. Mission profile, classified. Biocoded to Lysara LPARFUNDAENIR, species, VANARAN. This is a human satellite, Lysara. This shouldn't be here. Ver reiterated, to which I could only reply with an apprehensive nod. I know, but I don't see why we shouldn't. Let's just get on with it. With an affirmative nod from Ver, and a scan from a holographic projection, a sudden affirmative ping gave way to a flurry of data now flooded into the ship's computers. Attention. Data package download from satellite, README-1, initiating. Running executable standby. Priority Order 1, Autoplaying Message 1 for Lasaratile Parfundaner. This is Lieutenant General Cassandra Baines. Date of recording, November 7, 3954. Time since hibernation conduit 27 days hibernation, 362 years. This will be the first of a series of recordings detailing the nature of a galaxy you might find yourself in, Lasaratile Parfundaner. The contents of this message, or these series of messages, will be necessary in understanding the goals of Project Foresight, the intentions behind the hibernative research projects at Hibernation Conduit 27A, and any and all objectives we must ask of you, and your as of yet undetermined partner to accomplish. This message, or these series of messages are being recorded and stored in confidence. As per the standing orders given by my great-grandfather, Admiral Elijah Schuyler Baines, as a series of fail-safes to ensure Project Foresight achieves its intended goals when activated. A summation of the pertinent events of the past 362 years will begin now. As of this time of recording, the Interloper War, or as many call it now the Millennium War, has officially drawn to a close. A decisive human victory has been declared, and a centuries-long shift in national agenda and military doctrine are underway. Initiatives to crack the hibernative enigma amongst all other species, Vanrans included, will now be undertaken in full as the military scales down its operations. In short, the interlopers' capabilities for a conventional war have been neutralized. Their logistics networks no longer exist. Their industries have been completely eviscerated. Any semblance of a cohesive centralized government has been destroyed. It is, however, the latter victory that is proving to be our greatest headache at present. For whilst it was by every metric a decisive victory, there now exists no central government, by which the interloper remnants answers to. What remains of the interlopers have fractionalized, and have fled and dispersed. We estimate hundreds, if not thousands of distinct factions have been established, from petty warlords to dangerous technologists, who we suspect to possess as of yet undisclosed superweapons that may pose a threat to the security of the galaxies. The war as we had known it for 4 centuries is over. However, a new war has just begun. A war which requires the adoption of new and untested unconventional doctrines. A war which may require the proliferation of artificial intelligence technologies and a mass implementation of IE systems within intelligence-gathering operations. It is possible that without a central government, a cohesive logistics network, and a functional interstellar industry, that these minor factions will pose no threat to the sheer pace and breadth of human expansion. Yet, it is likewise entirely possible that without the shackles of their inept central government, that their lack of regulation now grants them a degree of autonomy that may see increased severity and initiative in future offensive actions. We cannot lose our great nation to a death by 1,000 cuts. Project Foresight and the experiments on Hibernation Conduit 27A will attest to that. We have ensured that you, Lasara, and your undetermined assigned partner, are part of this plan. That is all I can say on the matter. My message ends here. However, depending on how the war goes, and depending on what my descendants decide, there may be more messages to seek, and more problems to overcome. Rest assured, however, that we are still here on the other side. Priority message ends. Now downloading data caches. Stand by. Priority Order 2, Data Packet for SVI Designation, ver. Received. Direct upload initiating. I sat there for a solid 5 minutes. Simply digesting, interpreting, and replaying the words over and over again. The updates on the war were indeed eye-opening. The introduction of more complications to the mess, Project Foresight, unknown objectives, and the true nature behind Elijah and Mitchell's experiments all posed more questions than answers. Indeed, all of this had to be taken with a grain of salt, given the message was logged over 40,000 years ago. But I once more sealed my resolve, taking a moment to collect myself before turning to Seaver's reaction to all of this. However, instead of any quips, any backhanded comments, any snide remarks, or proclamations, all I saw was a silent, almost catatonic figure. His features were difficult to discern, but from what I gathered, a lack of any movement and a blank screen of a face meant that something was wrong. I approached her cautiously, placing a hand atop his shoulder, as he'd done just an hour ago. which roused him somewhat from his state. What's wrong? His screen face lit up once more, but on it wasn't the same parodic facsimile of human expressions boiled down to emoticons on a screen. No, what I instead saw was a single bar, and a series of text underneath it. Memory packet ver 11.07.13954/1/upload complete. Memory fidelity at 99.8%. I took a few steps back as the IE's face shifted once more to his regular pixelated expressions, this time displaying something between shock and disbelief. What happened? I remember now. I remember all of it. I was there. I was there with... Attention. Priority alert. 5 unknown vessels detected exiting jump space. The ship's announcement systems began, taking the both of us by complete surprise. Computer, scan the ships, but do not hail them yet. I suddenly took command, surprising both myself and Ver, as an affirmative beep sounded. Affirmative. Attention. 5 unknown vessels of unregistered class and affiliation. Parsing through data records for closest possible match. Parsing complete. Comparative cross-referencing and extrapolation yields a positive ID, within a 98.7% degree of accuracy. Human. Ver spoke up first. Negative. Vandarin. I went next. Negative. Closest extrapolated make and model interloper. 1 suspected heavy cruiser type. 1 confirmed light cruiser type. 2 suspected light corvette types. 1 confirmed bulk transport type. My heart skipped a beat as I felt my legs threatening to give in from underneath me. I felt winded, yet light-footed as adrenaline began to course through my veins. Computer. Calculate predicted trajectory. Ver filled that second of silence with his own commands. Predicted trajectory calculations complete. Primary target, satellite designation, README-1. Secondary target, UNSS Enduring Legacy. We can't let them take the satellite. The intel? Whatever's left, that we haven't even started to decompile yet. I practically hissed out as the bridge monitor displayed the 5 ships and their intended trajectory. A single line carved through space that was on a direct course towards us and the satellite. Computer, short tactical and FDL status report. Ver hounded in response. Affirmative. 1 Mk7 kinetic accelerator spinal cannon status, maintenance required. 1 Mkv plasma lance half cannon status, maintenance required. 1 Mk9 laser focus array status, operational at reduced capacity. 5 Starlink Class E warfare proximity drone status, maintenance required. 10 Saturn VII Class anti-ship missile batteries status, 27 of 150 missiles currently operational at optimal capacity. 10 Mars V Class secondary kinetic battery status, 5 of 10 operational at reduced capacity. FDL drive status, warp drive 50% charged. Hyperspace drive 91% charged. Jump drive 22% charged. Warning. Power systems operating at reduced capacity. Entering offensive operations may reduce FDL drive charge. Awaiting orders. Ver and I wordlessly locked eyes as the computer rattled on and on through the limited options we had at our disposal. The final announcement did nothing to impact our steeled resolve, as a single nod between us solidified what needed to be done. Ver, I have the helm. Affirmative. I have tactical. Attention. Sublight drive activation detected from 5 ships, redesignated, Interloper Flotilla 1. 8 at a tactical radius, 10 minutes. Let's do this.